Hi, this is Andy Collin and Chris Pomeroy from Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised. We've started our third podcast series, Movie Chat, with a bunch of students that grew up in Aspen and have moved into the entertainment industry. And today we catch up with Darby Laswell and her husband, Kevin Symons. Darby worked on such things as House Hunters, Billy the Exterminator, and Kevin has been in many TV shows and movies, such as, Parks and Recreations and a lot of fun things. So let's catch up with Darby and Kevin and see what their journey has been like. Thanks. It's so weird to see things slide away. It's funny because Aspen for me has been a frog in so many ways. Frogs are sort of the symbol of how the ecology of the system, the pond or the system is doing. And I feel like it's interesting because when you see a town that was owned and run by everybody that lived there versus corporations and logos that are traded on the stock market, that totally changes the culture, And when you see that change in the culture, and then you see how all of a sudden now you're in a room trying to sell yourself when really a comment that you make when you're going to get coffee might be what actually sells you on something sometimes. It may not be the lines that you're reading, but it's something that you did that they go, hey, I like that. In fact, I got a job at the Playhouse Theater when I was 12 because we did Cuckoo's Nest in fifth grade in a play and the prop broke. And I just started adding lib because I was a loony bin. I was a crazy person in the so I just started adding lib and handed it over to Andy Marlowe, who took over. And I think the guy, Don Swales, who owned the theater, thought I could think on my feet. And he was like, hey, how'd you like to have a summer job? And I was like, okay, and that's my foray into film and the industry. But that small town, that sort of little thing has changed so much.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of change in our industry has happened too. I mean, you guys are in film and TV and I'm in animation, but it's still the same bubble.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I came from a small town too and got involved in community theater and theater in high school and that sort of thing and got totally hooked. And here I am all these years later, still doing it. Something nice about growing up in a small town, though, I have to say.
Yeah.
Everything nice.
Yeah.
Everything nice. Yeah.
But I feel like it makes people a little more grounded. In other words, you have a sense of community and you have that team thing. I mean, yeah, you go through high school and there's the different groups and the cliques and whether you're in this group or that group or whatever. I mean, Darby, you were like in everybody. You did speech and debate. You were in Greece. You did, everybody knew you. Everybody liked you. You could hang out with anybody. And so I feel like with a small town, that's easier to do. When you're in such a big world, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I moved to Aspen. I think it must have been 79. So I didn't have the roots that you guys did. I lived with my mother in Fort Collins and then I moved in with my dad in Aspen. So I think that my perspective was this like, wow, this is this beautiful place where it's such a community. And because I had come from a bigger town,
Yeah.
but the vibe was so much more cosmopolitan. It was very much about the arts and nature. And I think that there was a level of appreciation for sure about what you could be and what the town had to offer, It was really
Definitely. How did you end up in LA then?
I came out here to go to the
Oh, you already told us. I'm
academy.
sorry.
Yeah, and I never returned. I love Colorado. I adore Aspen, but I can't afford it. And also the arts have changed. I mean, maybe now we could live in Aspen and maybe pursue our careers, but not then. You really needed to go to LA, New York, if you were going to pursue, a career in entertainment. So
Aspen does have that terrific theater that my friend Don Mackay co-founded
with David Lettingham.
David Lettingham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're still going. They're still going. So that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Wheeler. Is it the Wheeler Opera House that David has?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is the Wheeler Opera House.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of been an interesting thing because it's so old. I mean, I remember being in the Wheeler Opera House when the seats weren't even remodeled from like the 40s or the 50s.
Yep.
It was busted up. I mean, they remodeled it in like the early 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a show there. It was beautiful, but you're right. It was out of fun.
And that's part of seeing the town grow. It's kind of cool because you have a bit of history, and I feel like that's one thing that's missing. When you have a tie to some roots of the past, it seems like everybody's so busy going forward that they're not really tied to anything. Do you know what I mean? And it almost feels like that's a generational thing that's happening now as opposed to when we were kids.
Yeah, for sure.
All I know is I'm a city boy, and when I went with her to Aspen the first time, I was blown away. It was so beautiful. I just completely got lost in the beauty of it, and the mountains and the streams. And
so we took him on a hike so I'm taking him around to meet my family. So we're, thinking our relationship is a little more serious. And we decide because, this is what you do with guests. We went up to Maroon Bells.
Yeah.
He disappeared. This man who'd never been anywhere but a city before, gone, like a dog who was off of the leash. He just completely disappeared. We had no idea where he was.
It was so beautiful, incredible. It's just gorgeous. I love it up there. Absolutely love it.
It's a neat place. I'm old enough to remember when we used to go up and camp right by the lake. And I think now you gotta get on a tour bus and sign up in advance to go see it and stuff. It's really kind of changed, but
I think it does.
Yeah, that is heartbreaking.
And it's funny too because the Aspen Film Fest was started by a bunch of moms like Dee Dee and Koner, and I mean there was just a bunch of moms that got together and started the Aspen Film Fest. And when they did that, it actually got such a bunch of clout that if you were nominated like Best of Show or got into a category, you were nominated for an Oscar automatically. I think now that's kind of changed, but that is where, my mom saw a film at the ISIS and was like, hey, there's an animation collection. You should check it out. Because I don't know if you remember, but I used to do those little sculptures when I was a kid and I'd sold them at one of the galleries. And I went and all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, those are my animals moving, coming to life. Wow. Oh my gosh. And if it weren't for the Aspen Film Fest, I don't know if I would have got that,
Yeah, for sure. No, it's,
Cool.
all of us here are very lucky that we did have that opportunity in life. I remember coming to LA from Aspen and walking down the sidewalk and saying hi to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knew everybody for sure. I remember walking with my dad and he knew absolutely everybody in town and I just couldn't keep up with him. The only time I got a breather was when he stopped to talk to somebody.
Yeah, if you do that here, they look at you strange and figure you're hitting them up for money or something. Something from them.
I did a lot of work up in Westlake Village for a while, and you're right. I mean, I would talk to somebody at a supermarket or something, and they'd be like, "Can I help you?"
Manager.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Growing Up Aspen. Glad you enjoyed that last little blast, and I hope you stick around for a few more. We want to, the authors of Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised would like to thank you and ask you to, if you're interested, you can check out our book at twistandturnpress.com, or any local bookstore can order our book. So we will talk to you soon and hear more from some of our friends. Thanks.